Welcome to today's story of love, life, and betrayal. For more free stories and entertainment from our channel, please hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe with notifications. Now, let's dive into The Wedding Planner's Revenge, a story that proves sometimes the best revenge is served at 200 degrees with a reception full of witnesses. Bonnie Fisher stood in the bridal suite of the Grandview Hotel, watching her cousin Amanda try on the exact wedding dress that Bonnie had picked out for herself just 6 months earlier. The ivory silk and lace creation looked stunning on Amanda's petite frame, though Bonnie couldn't help but notice it needed to be taken in significantly at the waist. "What do you think, Bonnie?" Amanda asked, spinning in front of the mirror with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "Does it look okay?" Bonnie forced her professional wedding planner smile into place. "It's beautiful, Amanda. Jake will love it." Jake? Her Jake? Well, former Jake, the man who had proposed to Bonnie on Christmas morning, planned a June wedding with her, and then called off their engagement 3 weeks before the ceremony because he'd fallen in love with someone else. That someone else turned out to be Amanda, Bonnie's sweet, innocent cousin who had been helping with wedding preparations and offering Bonnie such supportive shoulders to cry on whenever wedding stress got overwhelming. The betrayal had been devastating enough, but what happened next had been almost insulting in its audacity. 2 weeks after Jake called off their engagement, Amanda had appeared at Bonnie's wedding planning office with Jake in tow, asking if Bonnie would consider planning their wedding. "We know it's awkward," Amanda had said with fake sympathy, "but you're the best wedding planner in the city, and we want our special day to be perfect." Jake had at least had the decency to look embarrassed. "Bonnie, I know this is a lot to ask, but Amanda really has her heart set on having you plan the wedding. And honestly, we could really use the family discount." The family discount? On the wedding, to the man who had left Bonnie at the altar, using the venue Bonnie had already booked, with many of the same vendors Bonnie had already coordinated with. Any reasonable person would have told them exactly where they could stick their special day. But Bonnie Fisher was a professional, and more importantly, she was a woman with a plan. "Of course," Bonnie had said sweetly, "I'd be honored to plan your wedding." Now, 8 weeks later, Bonnie stood in the bridal suite, putting the finishing touches on what would either be the most beautiful wedding of her career or the most spectacular disaster, depending on your perspective. "Bonnie, you've been amazing through all of this," Amanda said, admiring herself in the mirror. "I know it must have been hard, but you've been so professional, so understanding." "Well, family is family," Bonnie replied, adjusting Amanda's veil. "And I want you to have the wedding of your dreams." What Amanda didn't know was that Bonnie had been planning much more than just a wedding for the past 2 months. She'd been planning the most elaborate, carefully orchestrated revenge in wedding planning history. It had started small. Bonnie had accidentally ordered the wrong shade of roses for the bouquets, dusty rose instead of blush pink. When Amanda panicked, Bonnie had calmly explained that dusty rose was actually much more sophisticated and would photograph better. Amanda, who knew nothing about color theory or floral design, had accepted this explanation. Then there was the cake. Amanda had wanted vanilla with raspberry filling. Bonnie had ordered lemon with strawberry filling. "The bakery was out of raspberry," she'd explained, "but strawberry is much fresher this time of year." Again, Amanda had trusted Bonnie's expertise. The small changes kept adding up. The wrong song for the processional. Centerpieces that were 6 inches taller than Amanda had requested. A cocktail hour menu that included several items Amanda was allergic to. Each mistake was explained away with professional confidence, and Amanda accepted every change because she trusted Bonnie implicitly. But those were just the warm-up acts. Bonnie's real revenge was much more elaborate. She'd spent weeks researching Amanda and Jake's relationship, piecing together the timeline of their affair. What she'd discovered was that their love story had started much earlier than either of them had admitted. Text messages, social media posts, credit card receipts, Bonnie had built a comprehensive timeline showing that Amanda and Jake had been secretly dating for almost 6 months before Jake called off his engagement. But even more interesting was what Bonnie had learned about her family's role in the betrayal. Her Aunt Carol, Amanda's mother, had been encouraging the relationship from the beginning. In fact, she'd been the one to suggest that Amanda help with Bonnie's wedding planning as a way to get closer to Jake. The whole family had known about the affair and had been actively helping to hide it. Bonnie's own mother had been in on it too. All those times she'd encouraged Bonnie to give Jake some space or not be so clingy had been part of a coordinated effort to drive a wedge between Bonnie and her fiancé. The discovery had been heartbreaking, but it had also been liberating. Bonnie realized she wasn't just dealing with a cheating fiancé and a backstabbing cousin. She was dealing with a family conspiracy, and conspiracies required proportional responses. 5 minutes until the processional, Bonnie announced, checking her watch. "Amanda, you look absolutely radiant." Amanda beamed. "I feel like a princess. Thank you so much for making this day perfect." "Oh, it's going to be perfect," Bonnie assured her. "Absolutely unforgettable." Bonnie made her way to the reception hall to check on the final preparations. Everything was in place. The guests were seated, the flowers were arranged, the catering staff was ready. To any outside observer, it looked like a flawlessly planned wedding. But Bonnie knew better. She pulled out her phone and sent a quick text. "Showtime." The processional began exactly on schedule. The bridesmaids walked down the aisle in their dusty rose dresses, which clashed terribly with their skin tones, though only Bonnie seemed to notice. The flower girl scattered petals from the wrong type of roses. The ring bearer carried the rings on a pillow that was clearly too small. Then came Amanda, walking down the aisle to Wagner's Bridal Chorus, instead of the contemporary love song she'd requested. She looked confused for a moment, but kept walking, trusting that Bonnie knew what she was doing. Jake stood at the altar, looking handsome in his black tuxedo, though Bonnie noticed he kept tugging at his collar. She'd made sure his shirt was ordered one size too small. The ceremony began beautifully. The officiant, whom Bonnie had personally selected, began with a heartfelt speech about love, commitment, and the importance of honesty in marriage. Marriage, the officiant intoned, is built on a foundation of trust. It requires complete honesty between partners, transparency in all things, and the courage to face the truth even when it's difficult. Amanda and Jake exchanged nervous glances. They'd met with the officiant once for a brief consultation, but they hadn't expected such an emphasis on honesty and truth-telling. "Before we proceed with the vows," the officiant continued, "I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge the journey that brought Amanda and Jake together. Love often comes when we least expect it, sometimes in the most surprising circumstances." Bonnie smiled from her position at the back of the room. This was where things got interesting. Amanda and Jake's love story is particularly unique, the officiant went on, because it began while Jake was engaged to someone else. In fact, Amanda was helping to plan Jake's wedding to another woman when they realized they were meant to be together. A murmur went through the crowd. Many of the guests knew Bonnie, but they hadn't known the details of how Amanda and Jake's relationship had started. "Now, some might see this as controversial," the officiant said with a smile, "but I prefer to think of it as destiny. After all, true love cannot be denied, even when it requires making difficult choices." Amanda's face was turning red. This was not the romantic ceremony she'd envisioned. She glanced back at Bonnie, who gave her an encouraging thumbs up. "Jake," the officiant said, turning to the groom, "would you like to share with everyone how you knew Amanda was the one?" Jake looked panicked. This wasn't part of the script they'd rehearsed. I guess I realized that Amanda understood me in a way that..." He trailed off, clearly struggling to find words that wouldn't make him sound like a complete villain. Take your time, the officiant encouraged. I'm sure everyone would love to hear about the moment you realized you'd found your soulmate. Bonnie watched with satisfaction as Jake fumbled through an awkward explanation about growing apart from his previous fiancé and finding real love with Amanda. With each word, he was digging himself deeper into a hole. But Bonnie wasn't done yet. And Amanda, the officiant said, what was it like falling in love with your cousin's fiancé? That must have been such a difficult situation to navigate. The crowd was now openly staring. Amanda looked like she wanted to disappear into the floor. We didn't mean for it to happen, Amanda stammered. We tried to fight it, but love conquers all, the officiant said with a knowing smile. Even family loyalty, apparently. That's when Bonnie decided to make her move. Actually, Bonnie said, stepping forward from the back of the room, as long as we're being honest about Amanda and Jake's love story, there are a few details I think everyone should know. The entire wedding party turned to stare at her. Amanda went white. Jake looked like he was going to be sick. Bonnie, what are you doing? Amanda whispered. I'm giving you exactly what you asked for, Bonnie replied, cheerfully. The wedding of your dreams. And part of that is making sure everyone understands your beautiful love story. Bonnie pulled out her phone and connected it to the sound system. I've prepared a little presentation about your relationship timeline. I thought your wedding guests might enjoy seeing how your romance developed. The first slide appeared on the screens positioned around the reception hall, a photo of Amanda and Jake at a restaurant, clearly on a date, with a timestamp showing it was taken 4 months before Jake called off his engagement. This is from Amanda's Instagram account, Bonnie explained conversationally. She tagged the location but forgot to tag Jake. Easy mistake to make when you're trying to keep a relationship secret. The next slide showed text messages between Amanda and Jake discussing meeting times and making plans to spend time together while Bonnie was at work. These are from Jake's phone, Bonnie continued. He left it unlocked at my apartment one day. I was looking for his grocery list and found so much more. Amanda was now crying, her carefully applied makeup starting to run. Jake was frantically gesturing for Bonnie to stop, but she was just getting started. And here's my personal favorite, Bonnie said, as a photo appeared showing Amanda and Jake kissing in the parking lot of the wedding venue while Bonnie was inside finalizing catering details. This was taken by the venue's security camera. I requested the footage as part of my wedding planning process. You never know what might come in handy. The wedding guests were in various states of shock, anger, and fascination. Some were recording everything on their phones. Others were arguing among themselves about whether they should stay or leave. But wait, there's more, Bonnie announced, like a late-night infomercial host. Because this wasn't just a simple affair. This was a family conspiracy. The next slides showed text messages between Amanda and her mother, discussing strategies for breaking up Bonnie and Jake. Then came messages between Bonnie's own mother and Aunt Carol, coordinating their efforts to sabotage Bonnie's relationship. Apparently, Bonnie said, her voice carrying clearly through the stunned silence, my entire family thought Amanda would be a better match for Jake than I would. They spent months working together to make sure their preferred couple ended up together. Amanda's mother, Carol, stood up from her seat in the front row. Bonnie, that's enough. This is Amanda's wedding day. You're absolutely right, Bonnie agreed. This is Amanda's wedding day. The day she marries the man she stole from her cousin with the help of her family. I want to make sure it's everything she deserves. Bonnie clicked to the final slide, which showed a group photo of Amanda, Jake, Carol, and Bonnie's mother at a restaurant, clearly celebrating together. The timestamp showed it was taken the day after Jake had called off his engagement to Bonnie. This is them celebrating their success, Bonnie explained. While I was at home, crying over my broken engagement, they were toasting their victory. The wedding hall erupted into chaos. Some guests were shouting at Amanda and Jake, Others were yelling at Bonnie for ruining the wedding. Several people were already heading for the exits. But Bonnie wasn't finished. "Oh, and one more thing," she announced over the noise. "The catering staff will be serving lunch shortly. Unfortunately, there's been a small change to the menu. Instead of the prime rib Amanda ordered, we'll be serving crow. I thought it was more appropriate for the occasion." With that, Bonnie gathered her planning materials and headed for the exit. As she reached the door, she turned back to the chaos she'd created. "Amanda," she called out sweetly, "I hope you have the marriage you deserve. And Jake, I hope you're happy with your choice. I know I am." The aftermath was swift and brutal. The wedding imploded completely. Half the guests left immediately, disgusted by the revelations about the affair and family conspiracy. The other half stayed to watch the drama unfold, recording everything for social media. Amanda locked herself in the bridal suite and refused to come out. Jake tried to salvage the situation by giving a rambling speech about true love and following your heart, but the crowd wasn't buying it. Several of Bonnie's relatives approached Jake to express their disgust with his behavior. Carol and Bonnie's mother found themselves on the receiving end of angry confrontations from other family members who hadn't known about their role in the conspiracy. The family unity they'd tried to preserve by getting rid of Bonnie had been shattered by their own actions. The local news picked up the story after several guests posted videos online. Wedding planners' revenge became a trending topic on social media, with thousands of people sharing their opinions about Bonnie's dramatic revelation. Some criticized Bonnie for ruining Amanda's wedding day, but many more praised her for exposing the truth and standing up for herself. Wedding planners across the country shared the story as an example of what happens when clients try to take advantage of professionals. Bonnie's business, which she'd been worried might suffer from the scandal, actually grew dramatically. Brides began seeking her out, specifically because of her reputation for no-nonsense planning and fierce loyalty to clients who treated her well. 3 months later, Bonnie was featured in Modern Bride magazine as the wedding planner who won't be fooled. The article highlighted her successful business and her commitment to honest, professional service. "Planning a wedding is about creating a perfect day for people in love," Bonnie was quoted as saying. "But sometimes, the most perfect thing you can do is reveal the truth." As for Amanda and Jake, their marriage lasted exactly 4 months. Apparently, a relationship built on lies and betrayal wasn't the foundation for lasting happiness. Jake tried to contact Bonnie after the divorce, claiming he'd made a mistake and wanted her back. Bonnie's response was brief and to the point. "I plan weddings, not funerals, and your chances with me are dead." Amanda moved to another state and changed her last name back to her maiden name. She sent Bonnie a letter 6 months later, apologizing for her role in the betrayal and acknowledging that Bonnie's revenge had been creative and deserved. She didn't ask for forgiveness, which Bonnie respected. Bonnie never replied to the letter, but she kept it as a reminder that sometimes standing up for yourself requires spectacular gestures. The family relationships were more complicated to repair. Several relatives apologized to Bonnie and cut ties with those who had participated in the conspiracy. Others remained loyal to Carol and Bonnie's mother, creating a permanent rift in the family. Bonnie decided she was better off without relatives who would betray her for their own convenience. She built new relationships with people who valued honesty and loyalty, and she never regretted exposing the truth about her family's behavior. 1 year later, Bonnie was planning her own wedding again, this time to David, a photographer she'd met at a client's reception. Their relationship was built on honesty, mutual respect, and a shared appreciation for people who keep their promises. "Are you worried about planning your own wedding after what happened last time?" David asked as they discussed their plans. "Not at all," Bonnie replied. "This time, I know exactly who my real family is, and I know they'll be there to support us, not sabotage us. The wedding was small, intimate, and perfect. Bonnie wore a new dress, chose different flowers, and selected a venue with no connection to her previous engagement. She invited only people she trusted completely, and she planned every detail herself. As she walked down the aisle toward David, Bonnie reflected on the journey that had brought her to this moment. The betrayal had been painful, but it had also taught her valuable lessons about the importance of surrounding yourself with people who value you. Sometimes, Bonnie realized, the best revenge isn't destroying your enemies. It's building a life so good that their betrayal becomes irrelevant. But sometimes, a little public humiliation doesn't hurt either. And Bonnie's own wedding was memorable too, for all the right reasons. Good planning, honest relationships, and people who showed up because they genuinely wanted to celebrate love. As David slipped the ring onto her finger, Bonnie smiled at the guests who had come to support them. Real family, real friends, real love. Everything Amanda and Jake had pretended to have, Bonnie had found for real. The reception was beautiful, the cake was delicious, and nobody got publicly humiliated. Sometimes, Bonnie thought, the best revenge really is living well. But she kept her wedding planning revenge story in her back pocket, just in case any future clients tried to take advantage of her kindness. After all, a good wedding planner always has contingency plans. Thanks for listening to today's story of love, life, and betrayal. For more free stories and entertainment from our channel, please hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe with notifications.